Hello chess friends, I've decided to record one of my latest games in the Sheffield League. This is Shane Frith versus Robert Merck. I open up with e4. And then my opponent replies with c5, signalling the Sicilian defence. To which I apply knight f3, just continuing my development. d6, which is quite a common second move in the Sicilian. The other options are knight to c6. Bishop b5 check. This is the Moscow variation. I like this variation, it's quite direct. It's quite a forcing line. Merck replies with bishop to d7, which is quite a direct response. And after the exchange, black has two options: to take back with the queen or to take back with the knight. I'm not sure which is the best response. I think they're both relatively equal. Merck decides to take back with the knight, and I finish my development with castling. Now Merck plays e5, creating this Maroczy bind on d4. Merck's got some nice control over d4 now. I aim to counteract this by playing c3 with the intention of d4. Knight f6 and rook e1 just to defend the pawn. Bishop e7, continuing development. And now I've thrust d4 to try and open up the centre. Castles. And the game is quite even now. White still needs to develop his minor pieces, and I believe bishop g5 continues to do this. It's an interesting move by Merck, c4. It really locks up my queen side. The pawns on A and B now, they can't really be moved. I think that would be a bad idea. It would really spoil the pawn structure that white has. And I decided to continue my development, but at the same time attack this pawn through queen e2. I like queen e2 as well, because if black was ever to open up in the centre with e takes d, I think there would be a lot of pressure down the e file, and I think I would like this as white. Merck plays queen b6. I think this is a good move, because it adds pressure to d4, and it also adds pressure to the b2 pawn. It's quite hard for me to well, I found at the time it quite hard to finish my development. I wanted to play knight b to d2, but I think the b2 pawn would then fall, and then possibly c3 afterwards. So I decided to play knight a3, which now creates two attackers at c4. h6, quite a natural move, just trying to kick the bishop or maybe force it to exchange on f6. I decide though that there is a nice move now, and that's the intermediate knight takes c4, attacking the queen and also creating some more pressure in the centre, particularly at e5. I continue to play quite aggressive now with a little combination. I leave the bishop on pre, and instead I play d takes e. I had calculated in my head that most of the variations that would happen now would still favour white. I believe I will be up a pawn, and even if black was to take the bishop on g5, I feel that black would have a quite a weak pawn structure, double pawns on the g file, and I think white would have good opportunities. D takes e, and then just retreat the bishop. I'm a pawn up now, so I'm feeling quite comfortable at this stage. Queen e6, probably forced. Black really needs to protect that loose pawn at e5. some development moves. G5, very aggressive. Black's king structure is quite weak now, and I just think this move helps White develop the bishop on quite a nice square. It's going to add 3 attackers to E5 now. Another quite important part of the game, Black's turned the tables a little bit and is now threatening to take the pawn at E4. And I had decided that after Queen C2, I was willing to give the exchange up if Knight takes, Rook takes, Knight takes, and Queen takes E4. Although materially it would be even, I feel White is still better. A very centralised knight, a very centralised queen at E4, and also a lot safer king structure. I think White would be better here. My opponent didn't go for that, so I just picked up the second pawn. And now after these exchanges, we can see that White is standing better. Merk decides to throw part of the kitchen sink here. I just decided to play a prophylactic move and just took the bishop away. B4 just to discoordinate Merk. If he'd have played knight D7 at this point, I would have been quite happy to exchange, and I think that would have highlighted Black's problems even more. Final mistake, F5 it's trying to create some form of counterplay, but it's not a good idea. I'm just going to take the knight now, and after just simply forcing the queens to be exchanged within the next 2 moves, I think Black's chances of attacking are going to be considerably weakened, and it should be an easy finish for White. And after this final move, Black really doesn't have enough pieces to coordinate any threats or any attacks. Black probably should have avoided the exchange of bishops, but my opponent Merk was running relatively low on time, and I think had probably realised that this was the end of the game. The game finished here, and I think it's quite an easy win for White now. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. I got the inspiration for doing this video from players like King Crusher, who's a candidate master. He does some videos on YouTube and also some work for playchess.com. He does some excellent videos, and also Daniel King, who is a strong English grandmaster, who also does some very entertaining videos, very instructive videos. So until next time, adios.